you could join us here this afternoon. And one thing Coach Mike Brey says to his players repeatedly, they've got to make this building, Corey, once again, a real home court advantage.
Well, Notre Dame got started off 1-3, but 3 of those ACC games on the road, so happy to be back home, but taking on a formidable task and going up against the Louisville Cardinals, who have aspirations of winning the ACC, and they have to win games on the road like this.
And they have one of the leading candidates for National Player of the Year, Jordan Nwora, the conference's leading scorer, coming in.
And since a wake-up call at Kentucky, Jordan Nwora has been on a tear over his last 2 games, averaging 25.5 points per game, a career-high 32 against Florida State in a loss, and then coming back, backing up with a double-double against Miami. And Jordan Nwora has been spectacular all season long, the front-runner for ACC Player of the Year. But you see 8 for 11 from beyond the arc in the last 2 games and averaging 11 rebounds. So not just a scorer, being great on the boards as well.
And Corey, for as good as Jordan has been shooting the basketball, the point guard for the Fighting Irish, Prentice Hub, maybe's been a little hotter lately.
And Prentice Hub coming off of a career high at NC State in their loss on Wednesday and doing a much better job running the team. He's getting more and more comfortable in the style of play as to which Mike Brey wants for him to be able to run this team and play offensively. And Prentice Hub continues to be a spark for the Fighting Irish.
Last couple of games, Prentice Hub is 10 of 19 from beyond the arc. He's got the season average up to 37%, and that's an MO for Notre Dame. They've got to shoot the basketball well, and if they do, they are dangerous to beat most anybody, any day.
It is, and when you consider ACC games alone, Prentice Hub is shooting over 47% from 3. TJ Gibbs shooting over 50% from 3. So if all games were ACC games, these guys will be shooting all the more better, but just consider now, that's all they have left on the schedule are ACC games. Mike Brey looking to see that type of production from his backcourt.
We are set for basketball here in South Bend, Indiana. Jumping center will be Stephen Enoch for Louisville in the gray. And Jawan Durham in the home whites with the gold lettering and trim. And now for the 15th time in 16 games, Stephen Enoch, Corey, has won the opening tip for the Cardinals.
And he should, because he's normally the most athletic player on the floor. But going up against Jawan Durham tonight, a former teammate at UConn, he may not actually be that.
Wayne Sutton's first shot may have been deflected. Good to see Rex Pfluger back on the floor for Notre Dame. He's missed the last couple while dealing once again with trouble with that knee, but talking to him after practice yesterday and then again this morning before shoot-around, he said, I'm good to go. Pass comes away to Jordan Nwora. Out of bounds. Louisville basketball. And
you see a turnover on the first possession for Notre Dame, and this is something that they rarely do. First in the country in assist-to-turnover ratio, and when you look at it, average really right below 10 turnovers a game, so this Notre Dame team doesn't give it away much, but on the first possession, I know that's not what Coach Brey wanted to see.
Darius Perry in the backcourt for the 3rd straight game. Lamar Fresh Kimball gets the start for Louisville in the backcourt. Enoch to the left hand, a little strong, and there is rebound number 1 for the nation's leading rebounder, John Mooney.
And Mooney actually had Fresh Kimball on him on the first possession after a switch. Now Darius Perry, he has to be more aggressive of attacking the block and allowing his teammates to know that he's open down low.
Mooney gets the Irish on the board first.
Or knock down the mid-range jumper. It all counts for 2 anyway, so you like it. But John Mooney, with his ability to be able to score with his back to the basket, if Louisville's going to switch on him defensively, he has to be aggressive in talking to his teammates about getting him the basketball.
This is T.J. Gibbs, the senior from Scotch Plains, New Jersey, in the backcourt with Prentice Hub. Pfluger tries to turn the corner, finds Hub in the corner. Strong rebound with a one hand by Enoch.
But you can see just on that shot alone by Prentice Hub, he's playing with tremendous amount of confidence simply because he was hunting that low.
Fresh Kimball with the alley-oop pass. Stephen Enoch on the business end.
Always a luxury to have a big guy that can go well above the square to catch your lobs. You can be a bad passer and still throw alley-oops to a guy like Enoch, and he finishes it all.
Mooney being defended well by Dwayne Sutton. Pfluger for 3.
And as Mike Brey told us earlier, points coming from Rex Pfluger are all a bonus. It's an added bonus. He does all the small things, makes winning plays to help his team. When he's scoring, he's that much more dangerous.
And you know what, Corey, in their loss on Wednesday at North Carolina State, Notre Dame played only 6 guys, and I felt like part of losing that 12-point lead and dropping that game had to do with their lack of depth.
Well, lack of depth, and at the end of the game, unable to be able to come up with a strong defensive rebound. And when you've got the leading rebound in the country on your team, you would find that hard to believe. But oftentimes, I believe this Notre Dame team puts everything on Mooney to be able to come up with the board, and the other 4 guys aren't giving him much help.
Pfluger's pass taken away.
And the second turnover for Notre Dame early in this game. And that's an area where they struggled as well. 15 turnovers versus NC State ended up being part of the demise of them during that game, and to couple that with John Mooney fouling out.
The Fighting Irish have been loose with the basketball here in the early going. Enoch. Short. You talk about how it's a great thing for Chris Mack to have Stephen Enoch inside, his physical presence, but the combination of him and his backup, Malik Williams, that is a heck of a 1-2 punch from the 5 position. Trying to deal with that today will be that man, Jawan Durham.
And it caught me off guard. I haven't seen that from Durham. So we know Stephen Enoch can shoot the 3 ball, but wasn't aware that Durham had that type of ability, but he pulled up confidently, showing that stroke. Maybe the fact that he's playing against an old teammate has built his confidence. And speaking of confidence, one guy in here that doesn't need any, well, we'll make it 2, because you know I don't need any.
That's right.
But Jordan Ward definitely does not lack in confidence knocking down the 3 ball.
First 3 points of the afternoon for the Buffalo native, draws the Cardinals back within 2. Pfluger to the corner. Around and out. Almost down for Mooney, who is a 34% shooter from distance. Darius Perry hangs in the air. Air ball. There's Enoch. No. Another rebound for Mooney, and here come the Fighting Irish. Hub works his way into the paint. Dumps it off for Mooney with the left hand.
That Mike Bray told us earlier today, he felt as though his team had a good offensive rhythm here at home, and you see them off to a great start offensively. Of course, the challenge for them all game long will be how to defend Jordan Ward. We will see Notre Dame go to some zone, but that's pretty much something that every team that's played against Louisville this year has had to try to figure out how to guard Jordan Ward.
The screen and roll denied by Dwayne Sutton. We've already seen the 6'5" fifth-year senior defend most anybody on the floor. And we will talk about Corey Alexander's long and convoluted way to getting to his pick in that game a little later on this afternoon.
We will need time. I will need a platform.
With Corey Alexander, I'm Doug Sherman. Here in South Bend, Prentice Hub. Short that time. Louisville has lost 2 of its last 3, but coming off a win over Miami 74-58 Tuesday. 13th ranked team in the country, ties the game at 9.
And Malik Williams getting inside. Malik Williams now starting to get healthy. Missed the first 4 games of the season. Had surgery in the fall, but now is starting to get back to his health. And we see another turnover by Notre Dame. Now 4 turnovers already for the Fighting Irish, a team that only averages 9.9 a game. And get this, Doug, one of the better stats that you will see. Notre Dame has not averaged over 10 turnovers per game for a season since 2013-14, which was their first year in the ACC. And that was the year Jaren Grant was suspended.
Yep.
And they struggled that year, but since then, they've not averaged over 10 turnovers a game. Malik Williams gets a fortunate basket.
It's kind of funny. Mike Bray, during his 20-year run here at Notre Dame, has had different maxims that each of his teams have aspired to, and one of them is not turning the basketball over. Mooney on second effort, no. Just padding those rebounding stats. There's a Moses Malone putback if I've ever seen one.
Are you saying faux?
Faux.
We just talked about Malik Williams, and now limping off to the bench. And after a quick start for Malik, 4 straight points as we see Mooney, and Malik Williams actually went down with the injury, jumped back up to challenge the shot from Mooney, but you see his inability to jump after that with whatever's going on with the right foot, allowing Mooney to be able to pick up a couple boards and 2 points on that possession.
And Malik Williams had a screw surgically implanted into one of his foot bones. I'll tell you what, John Mooney already today, Corey, as Gibbs lets fly, has done as much as he did in the entire ACC tournament game last spring between these two teams when he went 3 for 18.
Well, that's one of those games you'll remember, Doug. I mean, my first ACC tournament game against Georgia Tech, I think I went 5 for 20. And I couldn't wait to get back to the ACC tournament the next year. And again, whenever it's going to be an opponent that you remember for a bad game, you want to have a good one the next time you play against them.
Turnover number 5 for the Fighting Irish. That will not please Mike Bray, the former George Washington Colonial. Graduated in 1982, native of Rockville, Maryland, out of DeMatha Catholic. And he is as proud an alumnus as anybody.
Yeah, especially when you think about his DeMatha ties. Of course, he's done a tremendous job of recruiting DeMatha. Recruited a young man from DeMatha that happens to be on the opposing bench of the Louisville Cardinals, one Mike Pegues, who scored 2,030 points at Delaware for Mike Bray's first Division I coaching job, or Division I head coaching job.
Ryan McMahon, beautiful English off the window.
That's nice by Ryan McMahon, recognizing, of course, he could use the rim as a shield to keep any defenders away from blocking his shot. And as you said, great English to finish it.
Yeah, you know, in his 5 years in the program, redshirted for development reasons his first year under Rick Pitino, he's become much more than just a specialist.
He really has, and his ability to put the ball on the floor and get to the basket, as we see once again from Ryan McMahon. And he struggled shooting the ball from 3, but no struggle getting to the rim. Beautiful little nice in and out crossover. ESPN on the ESPN app. Up next, Corey's 18th ranked Virginia Cavaliers hosting my Syracuse Orange, followed by number 22 Texas Tech at number 17 West Virginia, 6 o'clock Eastern time. What do you say down at Charlottesville? First to 40 wins, first to 35 wins? What I say is you and I both will be staying here in South Bend tonight, and whoever's team does not win is buying dinner.
There you go.
Okay, that's what I say. So, yes. But I do remember we held you guys to 36 last time. So now that you're coming to the JPJ, you'll be lucky to score 30.
That's coming up next after we get done here from South Bend. Nice post entry. Durham takes his time but missed the bunny.
And Malik Williams back into the game, fortunately for the Cards, and having an effect early defending Durham and then coming up with the defensive rebound. And it's been pretty much, you know, a win for Notre Dame on the glass thus far. A 12-8 advantage. John Mooney already with 8 rebounds, 3 of those offensive in the first 9 minutes of this game.
Gibbs lost his footing, able to get the ball over to Pfluger so as not to travel. Pfluger trying to take advantage of his size over McMahon, but he missed the shot. Oh, we're nearly midway through this first half. 0 fouls so far. Warren now with 8 points.
Speaking of zero hesitation by Jordan Wara. He knew when there was no defender right in front of him when he caught that basketball, it was going up. And no doubt about for him whether or not it was going in.
Foul on the post entry against Malik Williams. Well, it's been remarkable how Chris Mack in just 2 short years has turned Louisville back into not just an ACC contender, but a national championship contender. Recently turned 50 years of age, had a knee replacement over the summer, but hasn't slowed him down at all.
Didn't slow him down. I actually was with Chris Mack probably 2 weeks after the knee replacement. He was out on the recruiting trail, and, you know, he was a little more stationary than you would find him normally. But still at it and did a tremendous job. Has a great recruiting class that they brought in this year. Speaking of, Samuel Williamson stepping into the game, McDonald's All-American, who comes up with the rebound. And that class can definitely help them in the future. But Chris Mack was left with pretty talented players when he took over this job. He's done a great job of forming them into a very good team.
Mooney's averaging about a rebound a minute so far this afternoon. That's his 9th. Into the game for 3 quick points. Dane Goodwin, the sophomore from Upper Arlington, Ohio.
And Goodwin, who got the start at NC State and played a season-high 33 minutes, did not have much of an effect on that game. Going back to the bench where he's had games of 27 points, 21 points, so he's been spectacular coming off the bench this year for Mike Bray, and it's off to a good start.
I might say you can make a case that Goodwin's the best 6th man in the ACC so far this year.
Ooh, now you got me thinking. You got me putting on my thinking cap after that one.
Here he is again. Make me look good, kid.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
All right, I'll throw a couple of names at you as Wara draws our first foul of the afternoon. As you see, he comes from good stock. His dad was drafted by the Phoenix Suns back in 1986. But how about DJ Funderburk at North Carolina State?
That's a good one.
And Olivier Sarr at Wake. Those are the 3 I came up with.
Those are your 3 guys? Yeah, that's a good one. But DJ Funderburk is a double-double option coming off the bench for Kevin Keats at NC State. That's tough. Fortunately, we've got about 15 more ACC games to play. So
we do?
We'll allow that to settle itself out.
How does it make Notre Dame different now having Pfluger back and in a starting role, allowing Goodwin to come off the bench?
Well, honestly, it makes them different because they have Pfluger in a finishing role. And again, when you have a guy like Goodwin who's able to come in and make plays throughout the stretch of the game, but it's Pfluger who makes the big plays, the big passes, gets the rebounds. And that's honestly where Mike Bray felt as though they missed him most at the end of the game against NC State. And, of course, John Mooney fouling out of that game. He says a lot of the plays in the 50-50 balls, Rex Pfluger gets to those, and they were unable to do that in that loss.
Nikola Jogo's come into the game for Notre Dame, first time today. Pfluger around and out. And the rebound grabbed by Williams. Louisville with the basketball, leading by a half a dozen. Perry cut off at the baseline. There's one of those little plays you're talking about, Corey.
It is one of those little plays made by Rex Pfluger, and the first turnover for Darius Perry in 4 games. And Perry has done a great job handling the basketball recently for the Cards. But you see Rex Pfluger with the great hands knocking it off of Perry's legs, out of bounds, and back to the Irish.
Yeah, both these teams typically take very good care of the basketball. Gibbs, who has the basketball now, a 3.2-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. Pfluger into Mooney. Ball kept alive. It comes to McMahon.
Great job by Ryan McMahon being there for the long rebounds. Malik Williams, who got his hands on the basketball, unable to come up with it. But that's the guard's responsibility to get the long rebounds and make sure that the opposing team doesn't come up with those offensive boards. Speaking of not coming up with offensive boards, John Mooney doesn't give you a chance. But you look, he's really the only white jersey under the basket. His teammates take off running because they feel like he's going to get every one.
Jogo, no.
Did you do that on purpose?
No. McMahon playing with some confidence here this afternoon.
But Doug, we saw him get to the basket, make 2 layups early, and now once you see the ball go through, it builds that confidence. Now, McMahon did knock down 2 3-pointers against Miami last time out, but he had been struggling to shoot the basketball. Getting to the rim, I believe, helped him a tremendous amount.
Mooney couldn't corral that one, and here comes Louisville on the move. McMahon to Kimball. Sweet move by the grad transfer from St. Joe's. Timeout, Notre Dame. Timeout here in South Bend with the Cardinals up 9.
Wait. So you go from the stadium and you get here that quickly from the stadium and also happen to change clothes. Would you have a telephone booth on the way?
I did. You can call me Superman the rest of the way.
That was a super throw. Covered a lot of distance.
Good catch. I wasn't sure about your hands.
Oh, I only need one.
All right. We've got time. Our director and our producer just said we've got time to go into your long-range forecast about who you're picking, LSU or Clemson Monday night.
I'm going with the Tigers. The Tigers,
Oh,
and the Tigers will celebrate in Death Valley. Does that make sense? Well, so let me tell you this. The last 3-4 years, I have successfully picked the champion, and not only the champion, but the succession as to how they get there.
Okay.
Well, last year, I picked Alabama to beat my Clemson Tigers. And, of course, the Tigers not only beat Alabama, but they throttled them, which means I picked against my league, the ACC, and I was upset about that. So this year, when I think about it, I'm going to pick the LSU Tigers. And the reason I'm picking LSU is because, one, LSU is great. Joe Burrow's playing great football. But more importantly, if Clemson wins, because I picked LSU, I win twice.
So you're covering your bases.
Well, I mean, that's the best way to say the Tigers will celebrate in Death Valley. I mean, it's pretty much as well as I can do that is covering my bases. But, again, when you think about it, you have possibly the two best quarterbacks in college football, the two best defenses, the two best offenses. And, again, if there's any question, I want Clemson to win. But LSU is really, really good.
So is Ryan McMahon. That's 10 points off the bench for him. And the Cardinals, who outscored the Hurricanes the last time out 24-6, now 14-3 in bench points so far in this one.
And Ryan McMahon got off to a great start to the season. You know, had a big game at Miami in the opener on November the 5th. Played well, was in the starting lineup for a long time, but really got to a point to where they were not getting their best. Ryan McMahon shooting the basketball. And, of course, defensively, they're better with Darius Perry and Fresh Kimball on the floor to start games. But right now, Ryan McMahon is simply letting the Cardinals fans, bench, and team know you're better with me on the court at any time. 12 points thus far here in the first half.
Hub no. Enoch bats the ball to the bench, out of bounds, back to Notre Dame.
And, Doug, I got a chance to talk to our old colleague Dino Gaudio before the game. And one of the things that he said that Chris Mack told the guards was just to push the ball up the floor. Stop looking back at the bench, waiting for him to make a call. Just blow the ball up the floor as fast as you can. And that's exactly how Ryan McMahon was able to get that layup on the last possession. A kick-ahead pass, and ahead of the defense, McMahon is able to get to the basket easily and beat Notre Dame's defense down the floor.
Well, Corey, what's your take? What are your thoughts about this backcourt collectively for Louisville?
When I look at this backcourt, I think that they're playing point guard by committee. And that's dangerous when you're talking about a team that has an opportunity to win a national championship. But you have four quality guards, and also you've got Josh Nickelberry, who's, you know, having a hard time getting minutes with these four guards on the court. But Nickelberry can be, Juwan Durham threw me off my thought a bit, but
that's all right. We'll get back to it.
But I don't remember a national champion or a Final Four team that ever played point guard by committee. So Fresh Kimball, of course, the grad transfer. Darius Perry, who's been here, who's done a great job handling the basketball recently, as does Juwan Durham, well above the rim for the lob. Honestly, their best option, in my opinion, is to hand the keys to the car to David Johnson.
Okay.
Because you can play Fresh Kimball as your backup. McMahon can be the backup at the shooting guard position. You can play David Johnson with a second ball handler in Darius Perry, who's a very good defender. And we haven't seen much of Johnson in this one thus far, so I'm not sure that Chris Mack agrees with my assessment.
Mooney with a chance for three. Nearing another double-double. Not even 16 minutes into the game.
But it just shows you how important those point guard and those guard positions are, as you see great passing, but it's all based upon T.J. Gibbs getting into the lane, putting that pressure on the opposing team's defense, and a nice pass from Durham over to Mooney for the finish.
And when we talked to T.J. Gibbs yesterday after practice, he said that his older brothers, Ashton and Sterling, are always getting in his ear, giving him advice. Of course, Ashton started at Pitt, Sterling at Texas, Seton Hall, UConn, both playing pro ball overseas. And I said, what will your brothers tell you about facing Jordan Moore and company? He said, I got to get downhill, and most importantly against Louisville, I've got to get into the lane and have jump stops and make things happen. He did that perfectly on that last possession.
And you see what has been successful against Louisville, and you think about the games that they have lost and why. They lost to Texas Tech, where the guards were better than the Louisville guards. They lost to Kentucky, where the Kentucky guards were better than the Louisville guards. And they lost to Florida State, who, in my opinion, has the best starting backcourt in the ACC when you consider Trent Forrest at the point, MJ Walker at the 2, and Devin Vassell at the 3.
Sutton left it short. Mooney grabs the rebound. 3:23 remaining first half. Louisville on an extended run here in the first half. Looking to extend it further is Sutton. The tri-captain from Louisville out of Manual High School, his first 2 points, and it's a 16-point lead.
And that's another guy, in my opinion, for the Cards who has to be a double-figure scorer. He doesn't have, you don't have to run plays for Sutton, but he has to find a way to get to 10, 12, 14 points a game to make sure they take some of the pressure off of Jordan Wara to be the primary scorer for this team night in and night out.
That layup by Prentice Hub, first 2 points for the starting backcourt for Notre Dame today.
And a strong backcourt when you think about Notre Dame, but you talk about Prentice Hub, who's coming off of averaging 23 points over his last 2 games. But that's what happens when you play against a very good defensive team, as is Louisville. You're at the top of the scouting report.
Well, Corey, you said Dwayne Sutton didn't need to have any plays run for him to score. He joined the 1,000-point club.
That's range, but of course, with these great hands the good Lord blessed me with, I was able to make it happen.
That was a Montana-esque perfect spiral.
Okay, hey, wait a minute. You're going to bring, and I'm going to say it, the best quarterback of all time into the play. Now we got to go, because I know you're probably a Brady guy. Joe Montana, best quarterback ever.
Well, we're sitting just a long 3-point shot from where he starred at Notre Dame Stadium, so maybe we should go that way.
You don't think I know that? All the Notre Dame fans watching this, you think I'm going to say someone different?
So you're playing to the audience.
No, I do honestly believe Montana's the best.
Well, there's David Johnson's first 2 points. Another one of the native sons who decided to stay home to play for the Louisville Cardinals. You've talked about the fact that he could be a huge weapon.
Well, and coming into the season, their coaching staff felt like he was going to be the guy. Now, he missed games early, had shoulder surgery over the summer, didn't play in, I believe, their first 4 games, and he hasn't really grasped the role of taking on the point guard position for this team as yet, which, of course, would be difficult for a freshman to do, especially when you miss so much of the preseason. But his athleticism, which means that he has the ability to defend, his ability to play with the basketball in his hands, makes him special, as we see another one of those great freshmen, Samuel Williamson, with that right arm extended, picking up the offensive foul. Pat Driscoll not allowing it. Louisville.
Talking about David Johnson for Louisville before the break. He's out of Trinity High School in Louisville, and he's a guy who originally committed to stay and play for his hometown school to Rick Pitino, but then after everything went down, he decommitted, reconsidered, and waited for the permanent replacement to be hired, and that was Chris Mack, and so they re-recruited him, and he's a big piece of this tremendous recruiting class, this freshman class they have here with the Cardinals.
He really is, and he has the highest ceiling for all the guards that they have. And so, you know, in my opinion, I'm the guy that says throw him out there, sink or swim. You have Fresh Kimball, who can be he can be a great backup. So if you allow David Johnson to go out and be your starter, well, now you can have the best of both worlds, because when he struggles, you have Fresh Kimball to bring in. And you can play him alongside Darius Perry, where he has another ball handler. And, of course, Ryan McMahon gives him that shooter/scorer that he needs to play alongside with the veteran. So I think he's the guy. But apparently to this point, he has not shown Chris Mack and his staff exactly what they need from him, handling the basketball and defensively, to say we're going to give you the keys to the car.
Interesting. It's a great topic for conversation. There are a lot of different ways to parse it, and we have seen the change in the starting lineup the last 3 games, in part because of that rotation and how Coach Mack wants to be able to get everybody in the right situation.
But he also likes it when you have David Johnson playing alongside Ryan McMahon or even Darius Perry, guys who have played for Coach Mack last year and recognize what he wants from his guards. Prentice Hub.
dish to Mooney, who throws it down.
Now, let me tell you this. Louisville's been great defensively, and Notre Dame has had its struggles offensively. But when it comes to underneath out-of-bounds plays, Notre Dame is picking Louisville apart. If they could run everything from underneath out-of-bounds, they'd be in great shape. They've gotten everything they wanted when they had to take the ball out of bounds underneath their own basket. We saw the dunk from Durham. We see the dunk from Mooney. They've gotten everything they wanted.
10 points, 13 rebounds. Couldn't get 14, but Mooney's already got another double-double. At the buzzer, the 13th ranked team in the country, the Louisville Cardinals, have been impressive. Jordan Wara, who comes in averaging 21 per game, tops in the ACC, has a dozen. And Ryan McMahon is right there with him, coming off the bench today. Notre Dame is being out-rebounded as a team, and the turnover is a bit of a problem for the Fighting Irish. Third in the country in fewest turnovers per game, yet they already have 6. And the stats don't always tell the story for Notre Dame. I mean, Mike Bray always has his team shoot the basketball well, don't turn it over, don't commit fouls. They're checking all 3 of those boxes this year, Corey, but it doesn't always translate into winning.
Well, one of the things that, you know, in his words, he said, we've struggled with the hand-to-hand contact. It's the physical plays. It's coming up with the 50-50 balls. And a lot of that has to do with the rebounding, where they've been out-rebounded oftentimes in their losses and now struggling to hang with the Cards, and this one is a 24-23 advantage for Louisville on the glass, which is not huge. But when you consider that Notre Dame got off to a great start behind Mooney with 8 rebounds in the first 6 minutes of the game, and just like that, Louisville's come back and tracked them down.
Stephen Enoch starting again inside, had it poked away. Fighting Irish with it, down 12. They trailed by as many as 16 a couple of times in that first half.
And just like that, the first dead ball, Mike Bray substitutes Goodwin in for Jawan Durham. So Notre Dame electing to go small here in the second half and going to match Pfluger against Jordan Wara, which is a tough matchup for anyone. But then that allows Louisville to be able to space the floor, play one-on-one with Enoch against Mooney on the block. But that time, Mooney winning the battle. Enoch unable to finish. And he hasn't had a great game, although he's had a number of attempts at the basket, as T.J. Gibbs makes good on his attempt close to the basket.
Temple Dupree Gibbs Jr. says the only one who calls him Temple is Mom when she's not happy with young T.J.
But T.J.'s the youngest, but he's the junior.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Of course, as we talked about in the first half, his 2 big brothers were outstanding college hoopsters. Their father, coincidentally, played football at Temple University. There's that unorthodox jump shot by Mooney, but you know what, Corey? The ball goes in.
But also, with the adjustment from Mike Bray, now you make Stephen Enoch have to guard John Mooney on the other end of the floor, which makes it easier for Mooney to find those looks away from the basket and spread the floor out for driving lanes for the Fighting Irish. As you see, as Mooney vacates the middle, the entire middle of the floor is wide open, giving Prentice Hub a driving lane. And Mooney's ability to step out from beyond the arc takes away the shot blocker in Enoch and neutralizes the size of the Cardinals.
The clock continued to run, and so the officials are going to try and figure that out. In case you're wondering, is Mooney's putting up another incredible stat line. He's got 13 points, 14 rebounds. His career high is 28 points against Marshall back in November. His career high in rebounds, 20, came against Clemson last March.
I noticed how you did that there. You said his 28 against Marshall was a career high. Are you forgetting that he scored 28 against Syracuse at the Dome just last week?
Yes.
You didn't want to mention that.
It was established. It was established against Marshall. Come on, stick with the program.
You Syracuse guys, I tell you what, you bleed that Syracuse orange, which I did not find out was different from the University of Virginia orange until game 1, and Carmelo Anthony told me I had the wrong color tie on.
Really?
And it was orange.
Well, you don't know because you're colorblind.
I don't know because I'm colorblind, but Melo said that I needed to have on Syracuse orange instead of Virginia orange. And of course he was wrong, because once again, we beat you guys at your house.
That's blasphemy for you to say Melo was wrong.
happy to see my young fella. So he's big CA. I'm big CA. He's medium CA. Cole Anthony is little CA. But happy to see medium CA, Carmelo Anthony, balling for the Portland Trailblazers the way he is. Even though he's a Syracuse guy, I love him. He's Oak Hill. He's my little brother. And happy to see him playing so well.
Hub wraparound pass finds its way up to the head of the key, and Goodwin's got another three.
And what we're seeing right now to start the second half is prototypical Notre Dame basketball. Drive and kick with shooters all around the big guy, and even the big guy can shoot the three ball. And they have taken advantage of Louisville on the offensive end of the floor since.
Wara. And Goodwin clears the rebound. Dangerous pass again by Pfluger, deflected out of bounds. And Notre Dame certainly does miss Robbie Carmody. The 6'4" sophomore went down with the knee injury against Maryland back on December the 4th. Would bring, again, not only another 15, 20, 25 minutes a night, but the physicality and toughness.
Yeah, Mike Brey loves his toughness. In the second year in a row, Carmody's going to be missed the majority of the season. Had shoulder surgery a year ago, and now finds himself on the shelf for the remainder of this year. But Mike Brey loves his toughness. Talk to us about how much he will be missed in this lineup.
Foul on the drive. The Louisville offensively has gone cold, as you saw in the graphic we showed a moment ago. 0 for 4 this half. They haven't scored a bucket for now 5 minutes of game time.
But is that a byproduct of their inability to guard Notre Dame on this end of the floor? The change by Mike Brey, let's face it, Mike Brey isn't the all-time winningest coach at Notre Dame because he doesn't know what he's doing. Making adjustments at halftime is part of what he does best. And now you see the driving lanes are available for the Fighting Irish because of their ability to shoot the basketball. But that change happened when he went away from the two bigs and went straight to Mooney playing by himself in the post.
7 on the shot clock. Mooney. And Wara will bring it up.
Speaking of great coaches at Notre Dame, how about my man Digger Phelps, nominated for the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame? Got a chance to talk to my man Digger. Of course, I'm going to get a phone call whenever I'm on my way to South Bend. Looking forward to that. Hopefully he gets in. Of course, a resume as long as anyone's in the college coaching business.
Here come the Irish. It's a 2-point ball game. An 11-1 Notre Dame run prompts the timeout by Louisville.
And this is the way Mike Brey wants to play. Get up and down the floor, find open threes, and knock them down. About how well of a kick-ahead team they were. And this is in slow motion, so you can only imagine how fast it went in live action. But it ends up with Dane Goodwin knocking down the three ball, forcing Chris Mack to call the timeout. And the second half has belonged to the Fighting Irish. Louisville yet to have a field goal in the second half, while Notre Dame has gotten off to a 4-for-6 field start from the field.
Corey, I think Dane Goodwin may have caught wind at halftime about our conversation about best sixth man in the ACC.
And he's trying to make you look good right now. And I don't want to give it to him yet, because I'm not the spur of the moment type of guy. I got to think this out.
Dwayne Sutton turns the corner, crosses over Goodwin, and gets denied by Goodwin. Stick to him. Dwayne Sutton able to put it back in.
But how often do you see when people start making shots, it picks up the level of their defense in every other area of their game? And of course, what we've seen for Louisville, when they're not making shots, those other areas of their game can often slack off. We see Dane Goodwin coming up with a huge block. And that's a strong move by T.J. Gibbs. When you go to the basket and you see defenders start bouncing off of you, that's strong.
Young man who is mature beyond his years. His big brothers would approve of that. Like you say, Corey, getting downhill. Williams, no. Hud. Offensive foul. And it's going to go against Prentice Hub on the pass. Take another break here in South Bend. Irish off to a quick start to the second half. I like your abridged version better.
Give me that for
I'm
you
going
hurt
with
yourself.
Clemson. Give me that. I'm going with Clemson straight up.
You got a Syracuse ring on. You can't hold this football.
Wara has his feet taken out from underneath him, and Pfluger can't believe that he was called for a foul.
Now, here's the thing. It's not a popular call, and you'll get an opportunity to see it. It's not a popular call. However, Jordan Wara's legs are taken out by Rex Pfluger. They're both going for the basketball. It's a hustle play by Pfluger, but it is a foul. Again, when you take someone's legs out, I mean, okay, it's a textbook tackle. Both are going for the basketball, but as Jordan Wara's going, Pfluger comes under his legs. That's a foul.
Where does Louisville go here, since they've been struggling the last 5 or 6 minutes to score?
That answer is going to be the same for me every time you ask it. They get the easy bucket, the dunk from Malik Williams off of penetration by David Johnson, but that wouldn't have been the answer to my question. 33. That's where you go anytime you have issues. If you're Louisville, 33 needs to get his hands on the basketball. Louisville
by 4 points. Notre Dame with the basketball. Fighting Irish with a 10-5 overall record. Louisville 12-3. This is a big early season conference contest. TJ Gibbs starting to heat up. He's got a...
And TJ Gibbs recognizing that Ryan McMahon can do nothing with him when he decides to put his head down and go to the basket. He's got about a 3-inch height advantage, probably about 20 pounds, and he's much stronger.
But that is what number 30 can do on the other end.
Well, you got to use your strengths. That's how Ryan McMahon fights back. Knocks down the 3-ball right in the face of TJ Gibbs. Great battle going on between two senior guards.
Pfluger uses the screen. Tries to find Mooney instead. The skip pass is deflected out of bounds by Johnson with 10 on the shot clock.
Back on the floor for the Irish, number 14, Nate Laszewski.
There's Chris Mack, former Xavier Musketeer, who began his coaching career coaching girls, junior varsity, and varsity basketball, and has worked his way all the way to the top of the heap in college basketball. Pretty good.
He really has, and love talking with Chris Mack, especially with Dino Gaudio around. These two guys, of course, when they were assistants together under Skip Prosser at Wake Forest, used to play 2-on-2 with Chris Paul and Justin Gray back in the day, and those games used to get so competitive that Skip Prosser pretty much banned them from playing anymore. Rest in peace, Skip Prosser, of course, left his mark on the coaching game and the game of basketball altogether. Very well, highly regarded by Chris Mack, Dino Gaudio, and all the coaches coming from the Skip Prosser coaching tree.
And Chris Mack, of course, played a couple of years as a captain. He transferred back to his hometown Xavier University and played for Pete Gillen before getting into the coaching world.
Now, this is something I thought about the other day. Chris Mack is the all-time wins leader as far as a coach at Xavier.
Yep.
Is he young enough to stay at Louisville long enough to surpass Denny Crum as the all-time wins leader?
Well, if he coaches as long as Coach Boeheim and Coach Krzyzewski have, maybe. I'd have to look at the numbers.
Nate Laszewski coming up with a huge offensive rebound that doesn't turn into points for the Fighting Irish, but yet Mike Bray appreciative of the way Laszewski has developed as a rebounder. A young man a year ago who was pretty much solely a three-point shooter is starting to do all the other things to help his team win. Now has to regain that shooting touch that he had a season ago.
Corey, it's been almost 12 minutes of game time since Wara scored. Another empty trip for the Cardinals.
Well, but he's not getting many opportunities. And does that affect him on the defensive end of the floor? A year ago it would have, but it hasn't to this point. But right now, it doesn't matter who's guarding TJ Gibbs. He's got it going.
This is a tight Notre Dame team. Its three senior captains are very close. Big response at the other end by Johnson.
Remember I talked about David Johnson's athletic ability?
Yeah.
Very few point guards in the ACC right now are catching that off of a cut and going and dunking it. I can think of Cole Anthony, who's not playing right now, so he's not going to do it. And outside of that, maybe Trent Forrest, but there's not a lot of point guards doing that in the league.
Laszewski there to clean it up. First 2 points for the sophomore from Jupiter, Florida.
And Laszewski is learning on the fly how to be a great rebounder by having to play against John Mooney every day in practice and seeing the effort that it takes to do so. Laszewski has picked up just a little bit of that, and it's showing on the offensive glass.
Well, as soon as you say Laura hasn't scored in a while, he buries a 3.
Now, I can be the president of the Jordan Wara fan club if need be.
Okay.
But you got to get 33 the ball. On the other side of the floor, TJ Gibbs, 11 points, 9 of them in the second half as his teammates react, putting on 3 goggles. And we had a flex by TJ as well.
No doubt, guys, it's remarkable to see that 11th-ranked Ohio State has lost those 4 in a row now, 1-4 in conference play. And up top, Michigan State, the only undefeated team. And so maybe after a little bit of struggle in the non-conference, the Spartans are going to be what we thought they were going to be.
But, you know, give Michigan State credit for the way they scheduled in the non-conference. And when you think about the Big Ten, of course, Big Ten is great once again this year. Always going to be up there with the ACC and the Big 12 as the top conferences in college basketball. But when you think about what Tom Izzo did in the non-conference, I mean, you play Kentucky. You play, I believe they played Kansas. I know they played Duke. I mean, they played, it seems like, everybody. And he got them battle-tested for conference play. I mean, I would expect to see Michigan State as one of those teams we're looking at in the final weekend in April.
Pfluger for 3. Fighting Irish back within 2. Pfluger had it for a moment. Wara gets it back. Huge sequence for Louisville.
And Pfluger upset with the fact that he got his hands on the basketball, got the deflection, but unable to come up with it. And, of course, it results in the 3 for Louisville.
Pfluger tries to go behind his back. Under control, little step back. Offensive rebound, Mooney, and the possession continues for the Irish. And a quiet day for this man, Hub.
He heard you, Dougie Fresh. Excuse me, Dougie Fresh. Yes!
I'm on. 5 points now for Prentice Hub, who had been quiet until that shot.
It was quiet in the gym. I believe he did actually hear you. He's close enough as Prentice was able to raise up and knock it down.
And we have seen him light it up last couple of games, especially that game at the Carrier Dome, which Notre Dame won by a point over Syracuse. He was scintillating. Pfluger is going to be called for the foul, trying to block the shot.
Well, one of the areas where Notre Dame can always neutralize the size and athleticism of their opponents is the 3 ball. Rex Pfluger knocking it down, and of course, recognizing the crowd. Prentice Hub getting Ryan McMahon's hands down, enough time for him to raise up and knock down the 3, much to the delight of Dougie Fresh, who just called him quiet.
Johnson misses the first.
And you can just tell, look at the way that this crowd responds to Rex Pfluger and how happy they are to have him back in the mix after missing the majority of the last season with the torn ACL. Now, I did not know this.
Yeah.
David Johnson and Ray Spall, it makes sense. Both great athletes, of course, coming out of the Louisville area, flying under the radar in high school, not the highly recruited guys, the McDonald's All-Americans, but yet very effective when they get to put on that Cards jersey.
And of course, Ray Spalding was a second-round pick of the Sixers in 2018, now in the G League. Stephen Enoch trying to use that size. He used it a little too effectively. Mooney took that shoulder right to the sternum and draws the foul.
And Mooney baited Enoch. That was a smart play, because when you take the first one and now it becomes a battle, Mooney does a great job of absorbing the second one, no flop, taking all the contact, and drawing the offensive foul.
Now, you were a tremendous point guard, obviously, at Virginia, several years in the NBA. How much post defense from that position did you ever have to play?
I actually had to play a lot because when you played against the Rod Stricklands, the Gary Paytons, if you scored on those guys, they called off the offense on the other end of the floor and took you to the post. And you see Ryan McMahon taking a page out of the John Mooney book. You see the guards down there guarding the post as McMahon, and that one, Goodwin immediately extends the forearm. That's an easy call. Again, not a popular call in the building, but you watch that left arm comes out, boom, right there. He took this second bump. Coach Bray doesn't like it, but that left arm extended, that's an offensive foul every time.
As if right on cue, I love it. When a point guard, a small guy, goes down and effectively plays post defense.
Oh, yeah, you got to do it.
Out of bounds. Notre Dame basketball.
Yeah, when you played against the bigger point guards, the Mark Jacksons, the Derek Harpers, of course, I mentioned Rod Strickland, Gary Payton, they weren't quick enough to go by. So they just turned their back and said, okay, little fella, let's go for a ride. I'm going to take you down here on this block. Had to guard Joe Dumars for about 2 minutes.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Oh, they couldn't call timeout fast enough to get me off of it. And I say 2 minutes, it really wasn't that long, maybe 30 seconds.
Enoch comes down with it, tried to dunk it. There's Johnson mixing it up with the big guys. Once again, though, out of bounds off of Louisville.
And this has not been Stephen Enoch's game. John Mooney has frustrated him on both ends of the floor. Malik Williams has actually given Louisville more in this game. And I wouldn't be shocked if we didn't see Chris Mack go back to Malik Williams toward the end of this one. And that's the benefit of having those two guys who are both spectacular. Whichever one is playing the best can finish the game.
Gibbs able to finish in traffic. Yeah, the numbers over the last 8 games for the two Louisville bigs, Enoch and Williams, they combined to average over 20 points and 13 rebounds a game.
And right now, whichever one of them is going to be able to stop T.J. Gibbs from getting in the lane and doing whatever he wants is going to be the guy, as Notre Dame has an opportunity to take their first lead in a long time.
Here's Pfluger in the corner. Mooney on a mismatch has McMahon. They throw over top. Mooney kicks it out.
There you go. That's the right play.
Pass. Good win. 3 gives Notre Dame the lead.
You get rewarded for playing the right way. John Mooney against a triple team throws the ball out of the post, is not selfish, and gets a wide open look for a knockdown shooter, Dane Goodwin.
McMahon gets poked in the eye accidentally by Prentice Hub, and we'll have a stoppage in play. Well, Corey, we started this broadcast talking about Mike Bray's want to get this place back to being a real home court advantage. They lost 8 times at home last year. I feel like they've got that home court advantage back.
Well, they shoot the ball very well here at the Purcell Pavilion at the Joyce Center, and Dane Goodwin is knocking down the 3.
Championship game. Sports Center, 1 a.m. Eastern, 10 Pacific on ESPN as well as the ESPN app. With Corey Alexander, I'm Doug Sherman back at a raucous Purcell Pavilion with Ryan McMahon at the free throw line. It has been all Notre Dame here in the second half, led offensively by T.J. Gibbs and Dane Goodwin. But all throughout, John Mooney doing what he does at both ends of the floor to help Notre Dame win.
And give Mike Bray props. I mean, it had to have been 30 seconds into the second half. He substituted Jawan Durham, put Dane Goodwin in, and from there, Notre Dame has rolled in the second half. 7 for 12 from beyond the arc alone, but shooting 60% in the second half of this game.
Mooney trying to work on Enoch, who knocked the ball away. Mooney again puts it through.
And that's great defense by Stephen Enoch. Just the stick-to-itiveness of John Mooney right there to be able to come up with the basketball after Enoch blocks the shot. And the touch to finish it off.
Wara can't answer, and there's Mooney again, getting nearer to his career high in rebounds.
But those are rebounds that everyone doesn't get those. You know, Mooney's in position a lot just to come up with the rebound. But those are the rebounds that he goes and gets. Those are grown man rebounds. That's not positional rebounds. And that translates to the next level.
You know, we had a great conversation with him yesterday. Here's the takeaway. Prentice Hub by himself. Can't get the roll. Goodwin puts it back in. Fighting Irish by 4. Enoch? No. I was beginning to say Mooney patterns and models his game after Kevin Love. The rebound and the outlet passing, the way he is able to shoot a jump shot. He thinks Kevin Love is his ideal.
Well, I mean, and that's a great guy to roll your game after, because Kevin Love is, of course, an NBA All-Star, one and done at UCLA, and has been super his entire NBA career, pretty much a 20 and 10 guy his whole NBA career. But the rebounding is a want-to. That is a desire thing. Going and getting the basketball at his highest point. And again, of course, Mooney is under the basket. He gets a number of his rebounds just because he's in that position to do so. But I love to see him go way up above the square to go get the ball when he's got athletes contending with him.
One thing he also said he learned from Kevin Love, a lot of the rebounds can be had below the rim. Pfluger, no. You don't necessarily have to be the guy with the greatest vertical to go get it. Like you said, it's the want to. Fresh Kimball back in the game, able to get to the bucket.
And that's a tough play right there by Fresh Kimball. And those are the type of plays that you need to have a point guard to go just make. It's not a play call from Coach Mack. It's simply, look, we need a bucket. We need to attack the rim. We got to go make it happen. Fresh Kimball does so to make this a 2-point game. Accustomed to watching over the past few years. It's a very young team, inexperienced backcourt, but they play with a tremendous amount of confidence at home, and they've got confidence playing against Syracuse because, again, we held you guys to 36 points the last time we played.
Was that one long run-on sentence? Mooney.
I thought you said paragraph.
No. I got to get you some periods put in there.
No, I like the 3 period, ... That means I'm not done yet.
Final 3.5 minutes of regulation here in South Bend. Louisville led by as many as 16 points on a couple of occasions in the first half. And the triple by Dwayne Sutton has the Cards back in front.
That is a huge bucket from Sutton. Sutton now 3 for 10 from the field in this game, but none bigger than that 3-pointer to give the Cards the 1-point lead. And again, this is a veteran Louisville team. They're not going to fold.
Prentice Hub. Big 3 to put the Irish back in front.
And Prentice Hub, as a sophomore, makes it clear he's not folding either, which means that it was a good I went to the bathroom at halftime. We could see some extra time here in this one.
Wara now with 20 points, just about to his season average, which is tops in the ACC. He also leads the ACC in 3-point shooting percentage, among the league leaders in rebounds, free throw shooting. That's why he's the front runner for Conference Player of the Year. Mooney missed the layup.
That's one Mooney's going to want back, and kind of what I predicted. Malik Williams is the guy on the floor here at crunch time for Chris Mack. When you have that, dual center position and both quality basketball players in Malik Williams and Stephen Enoch, whichever one of those guys is normally playing better in that game will get the nod, and it's been Malik Williams in this one.
Sutton. Give him 3 more.
That's the Dwayne Sutton that we in the ACC are calling for, because we need for Louisville to be elite, and when he plays like that, Louisville is elite.
Hub can't answer. Mooney the offensive rebound, and he was fouled.
And Fresh Kimball doing all he can on that possession. Louisville switching defensively, and Kimball trying his best to keep John Mooney off the glass, but giving up about 10 inches to Mooney. That's going to be a tough task. Guys, Mooney's size can't keep him off the glass, let alone point guards.
The next foul will send Notre Dame to the line. Goodwin, no. He's had a big second half. Kimball into the lane, tough shot, and he gets it to go.
We've seen Fresh Kimball do that now twice. When Louisville needed buckets, getting to the rim the same way that TJ Gibbs has, and making a play for his team. And as I push for David Johnson to be the guy for Louisville early in this game, I understand why Fresh Kimball is the guy with the ball in his hands at the end of the game.
At the line, TJ Gibbs. Notre Dame tri-captain out of Seton Hall Prep in New Jersey. Later today, catch 2 more college hoop games on ESPN and the ESPN app. Up next, number 18 Virginia hosting Syracuse, followed by number 22 Texas Tech at number 17 West Virginia at 6 o'clock Eastern.
We've talked about Syracuse, Virginia, but how about my young fella, Jamias Ramsey, getting it done at Texas Tech, putting on a show for the Red Raiders down there, leading scorer, playing great basketball, and of course, Chris Clark transfer from Virginia Tech, also making his presence felt.
Full court pressure by the Irish. McMahon gets rid of the hot potato into the hands of Fresh Kimball, who settles it down with just under a minute to go. Here's Jordan Wara. Shot clock down to 3. McMahon has his pass knocked away by Mooney. A huge defensive stand for Notre Dame. Now a chance to tie it up. Luger into the lane.
If you're Notre Dame, you don't necessarily have to have a 3, but the more time you spend, you got to start to think about shooting the 3 ball.
No question, that's the only course of action now. Hub, though, takes the 2, missed it, ball loose.
And Jordan Ward ran away from that play.
Mooney for the tie. No! Louisville hangs on. Notre Dame pushes the 13th ranked team in the country to the limit. But it's the Cardinals who prevail, 67-64.
Louisville very fortunate that Notre Dame was unable to make a shot at the end of the play. Louisville's best play